nothing about the workings of the real world!
I will never forgive you and Father. I've played the pawn in your silly games!
You know nothing about the workings of the...
Thank you for getting rid of the creatures. You saved my life.
Who are you?
I'm Dr. Balam Lamek. I was part of the science team working on the time loops. What we did to that poor man, I can't be a part of this anymore. What we did was unforgivable. That madman. He timed it perfectly. He created a new time loop on B4. He wants to weaponize them.
Ever seen this symbol before?
Yes, I have. Some of our soldiers found an artifact with that symbol when they explored the ancient facility. As per procedure, it was catalogued and stored for future investigation. All objects of curio are stored on B4.
How did they create the new time loop?
Dr. Mabden told the poor Sabinian that the Palamists strapped to the tables were the same who had repeatedly raped his daughter. The Sabinian didn't hesitate. He grabbed the chainsaw and chopped the Palamists to pieces. I just stood there and let it happen. There are two time loops. Don't confuse one for the other. The one on this floor is old and didn't give us as much data. It wasn't good enough for Mabden. That lunatic had to make a new time loop. It's on B4. You need to stop this insanity. Near Mabden's time loop, there is a terminal where you can hack the mainframe and call forth the Guardians. You must close it. Please, use the numerical code 7584 to access the terminal and take this Ammon prism to close the time loop.
January 4th, 1993. Request for closure of Time Loop Aster 1. After years of study, all possible data has been extricated from Time Loop Aster 1. Origin, early 9th century, second cycle harmonics. Emotional catalyst, assassination of Conrad Astor by Finello Astor. Horizontal diameter, 15 meters. Resident topology signature, Theta Rho pattern. Recommend training protocols be displaced to level B4, taking advantage of Alpha 1 breakthrough. Recommend collapse of Aster 1 in 30 days' time. This delay will allow finalization of data collection as well as equipment and personnel transfers. Counterpoint raised. Preservation of culturally significant catalyst subjects. Future advancements may allow safe subject extrication.
Finally, you're here. That's good. Very good. Please use the intercom over there so we can begin. What a fine specimen you are. I will sincerely thank your commanding officer for providing such an excellent candidate.
Who are you?
Strange. I thought they would have briefed you. Semantics. I'm Dr. Mabden, head of weapons research. Today's experiment will focus on time loop weaponization.
Why are you trying to weaponize time loops?
Why wouldn't we? Think of what we could accomplish. Did you notice the newly designed hardware around a time loop? This is why you are here, not to ask silly questions. If I were you, I would concentrate on surviving the different protocols. Now, let's begin.
Okay, let's do this.
Good. The first protocol has been engaged. Come back to the intercom once you're done. Now get ready. Your competency is refreshing. Good work.
All right, I'm ready.
The second protocol has been activated. Good. Good work.
Let's go.
Here they come. I'm surprised you got through this one. Excellent. Good work.
I'm ready.
Now. Astonishing. No one has ever gotten this far. Good work.
This better be the last one.
This is the last one. Promise.
Need to make more adjustments to the serum. Continue.
Good work.
Are we done?
Indeed we are. I have collected the necessary data. Your contribution is greatly appreciated. You are dismissed.
Good work. You've retrieved the Keystone Bridge.
What the hell are you doing? You do not have clearance for that. Stop that immediately. That is enough. Go back to the intercom and follow the protocols. I thought I made myself clear. Enough with the shenanigans!
January 3rd, 1993. We have done it. Time Loop Alpha 1 is operational. For the first time, certain aspects of a time loop are under our direct control. Years of planning have finally paid off. Synaptic modulators are stable, and limbic pulse generators have already confirmed our theories that entities can be generated at will. We will begin testing the optimal frequencies to induce each entity variant. Agent training protocols should be greatly enhanced as a result. The complete weaponization of the technology remains out of our reach for the near future. We are, of course, still bound by the 33-year cycle. Additionally, a proper emotional catalyst remains necessary to the time loop's formation. This requires a great deal of precise social engineering. Overcoming these limitations will be the major area of focus during the next phase of the project.
Thank you for helping me down there.
How did they create the new time loop?
Dr. Mabden told the poor Sabinian that the Palamists strapped to the tables were the same who had repeatedly raped his daughter. The Sabinian didn't hesitate. He grabbed the chainsaw and chopped the Palamists to pieces. I just stood there and let it happen. There are two time loops. Don't confuse one for the other. Use the numeric. Hadia is gorgeous. I had the privilege of visiting some cities before the chaos. A few weeks before Palamists and Sabinians started killing each other, I was assigned here in Origa to that psychopath, Dr. Mabden. They turned the entire country into their science experiment at the expense of all citizens of Hadia. For what? Progress? Science? This isn't progress or science. This is genocide. The Zeal Council orchestrated the whole thing. I don't know all the details, but I intend to play along for a few more weeks, steal some files, accumulate evidence, and then leave. I already have some, but I'm going to get more. I want to blow the lid on this whole operation. Someone has to pay for this. The Peacekeepers were used to time everything perfectly. God forbid the Palamists and Sabinians start killing each other at the wrong time. And what if the ON finds out? Nothing will happen. The people in charge of this operation control everything. Think of something, anything. They either own it or have created it. That's how far this goes. Sabinians want what most people desire in life. Freedom. I remember reading a few articles about it. When that dictator died, Sabinian politicians wanted a democracy, a free market, and to rejoin the world. The Palamists wanted the same thing. Their inconsolable rift seems to lie in the nitty-gritty details of their history. I'm not sure I fully understand why they hate each other. I guess you need to be born here to understand why. Then again, I'm not sure the Hadians know why anymore. I can't help but have a soft spot for the Palamists. I see a lot of me in them. They remind me of my family back home. If I ever get out of this mess, I'm going straight to the family farm, where I'll devour my mom's home-cooked meals. I'm still trying to figure out where the creatures are from. Weapons research, pharmaceuticals, biotech, and medical research are all working in silos. Each department concentrates on its own thing. There is no sharing of information or breakthroughs. I guess it prevents us from doing what I'm about to do. Blow the whistle on this whole operation. I grabbed as much stuff as possible when I got out of there. There is something they are not telling us. We know the time loops are a doorway, enabling the creatures to enter our world. We know this occurrence happens every 33 years on the 1st of January at midnight. What is opening the time loops? And to what end? Whatever it is, it's something I haven't seen yet.
Who is Dr. Mabden?
Dr. Mabden is a cold-hearted son of a bitch. He's a liar and a manipulator. He will stop at nothing to get what he wants. He's obsessed with the weaponized...
Are you gonna be okay?
I will be, as soon as I leave. I won't be working for these people anymore. I hope you use that Amin prism I gave you. Those poor people did not deserve such a fate.
Thanks for helping me escape.
Are you gonna be alright?
I'll be just fine. The intervention forces are on their way. They'll clean up this mess. I'll have a lot of work to do, though, fixing all the systems. I'll have to run diagnostics to determine what went wrong. I don't know what's happening to this country. I've been living here since I set foot in Hadia. I can tell you a lot about what's happening in the Auriga Museum, but the NDA attached to my contract with Operation Moloch is pretty scary. They had us work in silos. All the research departments are entirely segregated. One of my coworkers was a massive history buff. He managed to get his hands on some local books. Books he found were censored. No Haitian was allowed to read the contents. He slipped them out of a repository in another SEAL Council complex he worked at before being transferred here. He wouldn't shut up about them. He was fascinated by this one ruler. Her name was Lady Margaret. This isn't the first time these creatures have shown up in Hadia. It's all over their history. This ruler loved her people, wanted to protect them from the creatures. So she had them build a massive underground city. It's in Argola somewhere. He went on to explain that it wasn't the only place. There's thousands of underground ruins all over Hadia. It's because of her. I don't remember the details, but Lady Margaret died under tragic circumstances. I told him to stop telling me all this stuff. He eventually got transferred. Now, I find myself wanting to know more about Lady Margaret. What else is new? Both sides are identical. It's pretty debilitating if you genuinely think about it. Only people who are the same can reach such a point. The line is drawn in the sand, cutting through grievances and insanity. Both sides of the line are utterly convinced that the other represents an absolute menace to everything they considered sacred. Now, where have I seen this before? Their mission here always felt a bit peculiar. I can't quite put my finger on it. Don't get me wrong, the country needed peacekeeping operations, but something felt off. I arrived in the country right when the temporary legislative alliance broke at the seams. I couldn't help but notice how tense the SEAL Council supervisors were. Everything started feeling more precipitated. Not long after, the ON peacekeepers arrived in the country, and all the higher-ups began breathing again. I don't think they were scared of a possible civil war. As far as I know, the SEAL Council needed the bloodshed. No. Something else was making them anxious. Something related to all our cumulative work. I made it a point never to mingle with the locals. That's just setting yourself up, especially when you're considering what you're doing to them. There's a reason you don't name the animals in your lab. It gets personal. A line has to be drawn. I know this guy from medical who got involved with the local. She was a palamist. He met her in a small village. He was assigned there to set up some equipment, before the big day. He got reassigned out of the fields into a lab. He kept in contact with her. But when the war broke out, he lost it and he tried to find her. What an idiot. He's out there looking for her. At first, I was terrified of them. What the fuck am I looking at? After a while, though, you start getting used to them. Then they just become a part of the job. They're amazing, aren't they? They immediately became terrifying again when they got loose, but it was still amazing, right? To think they may hold answers to some of our most pressing questions. It'll take some time before they make Eureka Museum safe again. I guess I'll be reassigned to another lab in the meantime.
I made it out thanks to my little friend here. We couldn't have done it without you.
You alright?
Yes. I haven't seen the surface in a long time. I'm looking forward to it. Although I doubt that will be soon. The debriefings I'll have to endure will take some time. They'll want to know what the hell happened down there. From what little I've seen of Hadia, it seems to be a special place stuck in time. When I was on leave before the war, I walked the streets in Lublina. It was like I had used a time machine and arrived in another timeline. It was a strange sensation because I couldn't pinpoint the exact period. Walking on the street, you feel like you're in medieval times. Then you turn the corner and are suddenly propelled into the 1950s. I didn't mingle much with the locals, not my style. I prefer tinkering with machines. I hardly set foot outside this place since the war started. I'm not missing much from what I've heard. I know our people have their part to play in this mess. You probably know more about it than I do. The operatives in the Oculus Division are masters at creating conflict and have their fingerprints all over this war. Funding extremists, targeted assassinations, false flags, you name it. How do I... Aside from what is said about them in the news and newspapers, I know little about them. The peacekeepers have tried their best to delay the war, but it was a lost cause. The Oculus Division made sure of that. I don't know much about the Sabinians. I only know what the higher-ups told us in the briefings when we first arrived. However, I got a small sample when I went out on leave. I got a well-deserved weekend pass one time. I used to get those before the war. I spent it in Lausulus, the capital city in Asteria. I was enjoying my caffeine-infused beverage in a small cafe on the corner of a busy street. I'm curious and I love gossip, so I discreetly listened to a few conversations. I do that purely to entertain myself. At first, the conversations were run-of-the-mill exchanges. These are mainly complaints about work, teachers being too strict, deadlines, overtime, being too tired, a suspect husband, and the everyday anecdotes you might hear anywhere. Then, a news report comes on. The cafe fell into a silent hush. I don't remember what it was about, but when it was over, all you could hear were complaints about the Palamists. Some conversations went as far as suggesting to kill them all. It was surreal. The change in attitude was almost instant. I don't think the news realizes the power they have. Or do they? I've never met any Palamists, and if I did, I didn't notice. There is one place I would love to visit. It's in the heart of the Palamist province of Argola. It's the capital city of Trisk. Some who went on leave there told me it was stunning. It has some of the oldest castles, friendly people, and the best restaurants in Hadia. I know, it sounds like a commercial, but it's what everyone says when people come back from there. I hope it survives the war. I want to visit Trisk if ever I get a weekend pass again. Well, that's probably unlikely. The Cerebrum Division was partly created to study, examine, observe, and dissect them. It's why most of us are here. That old time loop we found in the ancient part of Eureka Museum played a significant role in studying the entities. Why do you think your drone can distract them? We discovered that the entities emit specific frequencies. We have yet to find out why. However, I figured out how to scramble their signal. I built the emitter inside the drone to interrupt the entity's frequency waves, temporarily confusing them. I'm still working on an emitter that doesn't cost too much energy and can last longer. As you know, those few seconds are precious for a soldier. I'll get on that as soon as this place becomes operational again.
That's the last keystone. Let's return to the ancient forge and see if your father was right. Let me know if you want more information on anything you find out there.
What am I supposed to do with this keystone?
We must return to the Limbic Forge and insert the keystone in its groove. Find something interesting? Nice find. Let's run it through the database. My article on the Zeal Council conspiracy is up. Let's see what the Zeal server has to say about this one. I wrote a piece on several of the past calamities.
Rendezvous at Lake.
Wait.
Lieutenant, you are relieved of command.
On what grounds, Corporal?
Put these on. You are to report back for debriefing. Stop!
Arabeth? Arabeth! Ah, fuck!
Remy, I'm sure she's all right.
Unlikely.
I know a survivor when I see one. Do you think she knows you were going to say Lake Sinan?
What difference does it make? We got work to do.
No one should have to go through what we did.
I'm afraid to close my eyes. I thought we were going to die in that barn.
I've never been so happy to see Koryo in my life. I'm ashamed to think I used to judge him. It will take some time for us to recover, but we should be okay. I worry the younger girls will never be the same.
I can't.
Those absolute fucking animals. You should have seen the conditions the girls were kept in. I swear if I get my hands on one of them... The girls will be safe here. We've got plenty of food. They can hunker down and get the rest they need. Ugh, what an ordeal they've been through.
No! No! Ziad! Deep down, I always knew I would never see him again. But part of me still had hope. This is what I hoped I'd never have to see.
My superhero symbol. You met Mama? That's the ring I made for her. What does that mean? Is she coming back soon?
I really don't need this, right? I really don't need this, right?
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, but...
wouldn't say I like interruptions. I never understood why people need breaks. I was surprised to find out that your mother worked for us. She had quite a reputation. My employers came across her by chance. People with nothing to lose are the best candidates for covert operations. What caught their eye was that this prisoner seemed to know a great deal about Hadia. Things that aren't common knowledge. Faux guards, limbic weapons, the Order of the Eye. And the Vigil.
What's your fucking point?
We didn't know about the Vigil's existence until your mother was recruited. She gave us an extensive list of names. In exchange, we trained her and assigned her some men. And one by one, the Vigil began to disappear. Have car accidents. Die of heart attacks. Very efficient. But then, she started to show signs of slowing down. Especially when it came time to take care of Vitalis.
Careful.
So my employers presented your mother with falsified phone records. It implicated Vitalis as the one who called the police the night she attempted to smuggle you out.
You fucking scumbags!
I told you I know how to bring out the worst in people. Oh, if you weren't bound to that chair, you'd lunge across the table and choke the life out of me.
It would be much worse than that.
Revenge is a much more potent manipulator. Control is knowing which buttons to press. Pretending not to care about anything is the illusion of control. Look at you, just like her. Compromised by your emotions. Fun's over. Let's continue.
I'm glad to see you again, my son. It's very peaceful here. A stark contrast from the rest of Hadia.
How is Rebecca doing?
When we arrived here, she slipped into a deep sleep. I think she hadn't slept like that in so long. She is obviously in a great deal of pain. She hasn't opened up about the explosion that took the lives of her parents and little brother. I will give her the time and space. Right now, all she needs to do is enjoy the peaceful surroundings.
Huh. I'm glad you made it here. How are things?
Good. It's as if Sathras himself created Lake Sinan. It's so peaceful. The birds, the waterfalls, crystal clear water, and the flowers. It is the ideal place for Rebecca and I to heal our wounds. I was surprised to see the reservoir emptied. I don't know what lies beneath, and I don't care to find out. Both Rebecca and I will be staying here until the war is over. I have no use for this. I have no use for this. I have no use for this.
Finally made it here. Lake Sinan is way more beautiful than I remembered. I don't need this. I don't need this. I don't need this. I don't need this. Finally made it. Lakes. Miss Haley taught us about Hadia. She told us that the Sabinians were horrible people who wanted to hurt us. And they gave us examples of what happened in our history. King Aster was a very mean man who wanted to eliminate all Palamists. The Sabinians think he's a hero. It's true. Look at what they did to us in Jova. Miss Haley was right. They all hate us. I want this to end. I want my mom and my dad to tell me everything will be okay. I want to play with my baby brother in the treehouse. I want to go to school. I want to play with my friends in the marsh, and I want to listen to Uncle Jaffer's sermons. I want things to go back to normal. I don't think they will. They were always nice to me. Zhao wanted me to stay with them at their outpost, but I didn't want to. She came to see me in secret and made sure I had food. When she told me she was leaving Jova, she wanted me to go with them. I told her I was staying for Uncle Jaffer. She gave me more food and said goodbye. I hate them. They killed my mom and my dad. They killed my baby brother. He was only 5. Miss Haley was right about them. They're not people. They're all murderers. Everyone I know is gone. They're with Sathras now in the higher place. Uncle Jaffer talks about it in his sermons. It's where we go when we die. It's where my mom, my dad, and, my baby brother are. They're demons. They're here because of the Sabinians. They're friends with the demons. They never attacked them in Jova. See? They're friends with them.
Are you gonna be okay?
Yeah. I think about them a lot. Especially my baby brother. I miss them. I have less nightmares here, though. Uncle Jaffer told me Lake Sinan would help me forget the bad memories. Soon, I'll only remember the good ones. Like when my brother and I used to play games in the treehouse.
Hey. What happened to you in Jova?
I don't want to talk about Jova anymore.
Is your uncle gonna be okay?
I think so. We pray to Sethris a lot. Uncle Jaffer likes to do that. He's always happier afterward. I wish that Sethris could stop all the bad stuff from happening. But, Uncle Jaffer says it doesn't work like that. He said we need to take responsibility for our actions.
year! Hail! To another peaceful year! Hail! To another peaceful year! Hail!
According to my calculations, you're headed towards Mount Obek. Oh, imagine the time it took the Fall Guard to dig through all this rock. The dedication. Wait. Remy? Remy? Remy?
Tanya, sound off. Tanya.
Remy? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, loud and clear.
I was afraid of this. The drone's communication array can't penetrate through all that rock. I told you we should have upgraded the drone.
Tanya, you're breaking up again.
Remy? 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 Shit. I'll try boosting this again.
Oh, come on. Why do I feel like I'm in a really bad long-distance phone call commercial? I'm here.
I've boosted the array to its limits. This is probably the last time we talk. I think you're almost there. Wherever there is. Don't take my word for it, though. The drone's readings are erratic. Take care, Remy. Stop the calamity. Good luck.
Tanya. Well, Cappy, finally. Alone at last.